Greetings, everyone. This is Umbi here, and today we're actually covering a Pokemon TCG related topic. So I've been running the Rapid Strike deck list for some time. You can even see on the screen this is my iteration for today that I brought to a local tournament. And while it's not as typical as the standard list, you can even see this missing some professors' researches. There are two recent edits to the deck that I want to kind of go over and kind of get collective thoughts on. You can see them on the left side of your screen. In place of Radiant Alakazam, you see Radiant Greninja, and you also see the inclusion of Rapid Strike Passimian. So take a quick look at that. Why are we using Radiant Greninja? So the easy stuff out of the way. It's got 1 retreat cost as opposed to Radiant Alakazam's 2 retreat cost. So it's a lot harder to get stuck in the active zone. Just a quick attachment from a water energy and you're out of there. 2, obviously we're going to try and use concealed cards to draw more cards. That requires water energy that is normally used for Inteleon VMAX's double gunner ability. So by proxy of that, we've got to increase the energy account, which means there's actually more energy to run into to use those double gunners from in the event that we're not using it for the Radiant Greninja's concealed cards. But the whole goal of this inclusion is stabilizing the board state. There are often a lot of times where this deck can kind of just draw into dead hands. That's what the professor's research is geared more towards. But it's such a supporter heavy list that I really want to use a lot of those supporters more often than I'd rather try and use the support to draw cards. So whether it's attaching the energy from a Melanie, whether it's getting an evolution card from the Irida, getting the Octillery online, or even healing up with a Cheryl. I'd rather devote resources to using those. So I've been trying to find ways to not have to use the professor's research as often as I can. So Radiant Greninja helps me to reach that. So even early game, when you just miss that battle VIP pass despite running for them, you get increased chances to run into them if you have the energy to use concealed cards for. Even in the mid game, once you do have the board state set up and you just can't get the evolution cards that you need to get everything fully online, you can take another shot with concealed cards to try and draw into those resources. Now, we do miss out on the combo with the Medicham V and using Yoga Loop, and also just fixing math in general with painful spoons to line up multiple knockouts, but that's all in the effort to just make sure that we have the board and the hand that we need to get to that point in the first place. All that's to say, just gets active a lot earlier than the Alakazam does as well, because sometimes you don't even get the damage you need to move around with the painful spoons because you don't have the energy to attack or don't have the energy to use the double gunner. Whereas Radiant Greninja, just as long as you have the water energy, and again, we got more in the deck. This current iteration has 8 energy. Probably going to try and go up to more if I can. So that you can just use it at any general point in the game. So I thought that was pretty cool, and so far it's felt comfortable, but I'm down to do some more testing and see if I can get it to where I want it to be. As far as the Passimian, this one's got multiple points to it, so it's another one prizer that can be included in the deck. A lot of people are running Spiritomb with the combination of the Giacomo to get rid of Fusion Strike energy in the Mew matchup and lock down the Genesect. But my option here is the Passimian, which has the benefit of being able to use the Tower of Waters to retreat if needed to, and also being searchable through Octillery's Rapid Strike search, excuse me. I think it's hard to kind of go through the list of Rapid Strike Pokemon and pick out things that actually make sense for the deck, but I think this one does kind of make sense. Because you can also help to fix the math in the absence of Radiant Alakazam versus certain targets. The most common example, or the one that's like at the highest of my priority list, is towards Lumineon, which is in a lot of decks, right? Even something like Mew, not Mew, Gardevoir EX will sometimes slot in that Pokemon, just so you have the ability to automatically select a boss's orders and get a key knockout. It has 170 HP, is a V Pokemon, so with Passimian's ability Throwing Coach, your Rapid Strike's Pokemon do 30 more damage to benched Pokemon V. So if we combine that with G-Max Rapid Flow, you're now doing 150 damage to Lumineon instead of the normal 120 damage that you usually do. and that's just a double gunner away from getting a knockout. You see where I'm going with this? If you combine that with something like the echoing horn, bring it back and do the exact same thing again, then you're in business. That's 4 prizes for one tiny little Pokemon. It can also just help in general versus other matchups as well in general. Like let's say Lugia V Star. It doesn't fix the matchup on its own, but it counteracts the V Guard energy if you haven't found the Giacomo yet. So there's a Lugia on the bench and you end up Gmax Rapid Flowing it. Instead of the 90 damage that it would normally do, you get the full 120 damage. And if you do happen to get the V Guard energy off of it thanks to Giacomo, then you get to do 150 damage to it, and the V Star has 130 damage to cut through left. That's just another rapid flow away. That's another GMAX Spiral from Inteleon V away if it ever comes back into the active zone. There are multiple angles I'm thinking of to where this can actually work, so I've been glad to run it. Even itself doing 20 damage in general, and then another 30 because the ability works on itself as well, for a total of 50 to a V Pokemon just for a single prizer, can just help in general, right? Like if you get the Gmax Rapid Flow early onto the Lumineon V, now the Passimian comes in later, it can still knock out the Lumineon V on its own. 120 plus 50 damage, total 170. You get where I'm going with that. So all that being said, enough of me ranting. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of those inclusions? What would you do to help optimize the deck? Are you interested in the deck? All that stuff. Leave it in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Take care.